Right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. I've got Gary Judge with me from Across the Park podcast, and we've also got Musk in the studio, so you might hear his voice from time to time picking us up if I get something wrong or Gary does.
It's normally you getting someone's name wrong.
Probably is.
Let's have it this week.
First off, some housekeeping. For those who are on Patreon, we landed a 9-1 winner last week on the betting show. Obviously, the betting show is not for everyone, but if you do fancy a flutter, it's worth getting on Patreon just for that, as it's paying for itself. We're nearly ready to start announcing some little lifestyle tips. I've just signed up for the Marathon des Sables. I announced that this week. I've done my first run this week. Only 3 miles, but I'm aching. I was going to ask you today, actually, if you wanted to run this evening.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
No, I'm not. Because I'm aching.
I did warn you, though. You put it out on Instagram yesterday, didn't you? Say one of the first things I need to remember is, don't run too fast.
Yeah.
And I know it was only 3 miles, and obviously that's nothing to you and compared to what you've done in the past, but if you haven't run for a while,
exactly,
it's all relative, isn't it? Going
from so as I was running around, I'm thinking, I might do that 4 or 5 mile with Gary tomorrow, feel alright, and then I woke up this morning and was like, I might wait till next week.
But then there's also, like, I bet you didn't stretch properly before and stretch probably, after it. Yeah. So we'll get into all that, won't we?
Yeah, so we've got all that. So we're going to try and create a bit of it's like health and weeing. Health and weeing.
That's good to do. Make sure you have a wee.
Health and well-being on the old Patreon, which
we'll
get you all involved in. So that's all coming up in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. But it's Friday. We're here to talk sports. My one little note I will say is this is being recorded on Tuesday. So if anything mad happens on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, don't come at us.
Was that excited when you said it's Friday then? I was like, yes, it's Friday.
Don't come our way if we miss something, basically, because it's getting recorded early in the week. And I think a good place to start, mate, is at home in Liverpool with the Athletics.
I thought you were going to say Everton then.
I'm going to tee you up for that, mate. I'm looking forward to it about you. No, we got Katarina Thompson won gold in the heptathlon. Second time she became world champion, which is boss. She's had a couple of proper tough years with regards to injuries, and I always think it's something I want to mention. You talk a lot about mindset in sport and that kind of it's that kind of, if you like, Ronaldo, Messi kind of levels of mindset. When you're in athletics, you think of the Olympics every 4 years. To have that resilience to be able to keep on going despite the injuries, and you only get one shot every 4 years. Yeah. I mean, I know this was the World Championships, but that being said, still you only get one shot at it every year type thing. Whereas you look, if you're a footballer, every Saturday you've got a chance to kind of right your wrongs, if you like. Yeah. So I think for her to put up with all the injuries that she's had and come back, become a world champion for the second time, brilliant. Just absolutely buzzing for her.
The level of dedication and commitment's incredible, isn't it? Because as you say, you've got that one shot every year. You must have to wake up every morning thinking, if I don't get out of bed, my opponent's going to get out of bed and I'm losing ground. And that, like, so hard to keep that up, isn't it? And every single day. And
the other thing, I mean, I know she probably didn't start it, and I'd like to think most footballers didn't start it for money. But at this level now,
nothing.
She's not, like, when you talk about there, she's got to wake up every morning and think, right, come on. If you're a footballer, at least you're getting paid $100,000 a week. And
you've got nothing else to worry about. She's got to pay the bills. She's got to find sponsors. If she's not finding sponsors, and that's not a rarity, she's going to work part time. Which I'm not sure exactly if she is. I'm fairly certain she'll be doing something else around it. It's very rare that.
But it's all linked to her performances, because those sponsors aren't going to be there if a performance drops. So the pressure that she's got
image,
compared to,
everywhere she goes and stuff. As I say, she only has to take one wrong step, and then she loses a sponsor, loses 2 sponsors, her career's over.
Yeah, she then gets a job, which means she doesn't train as much, which means so the fact that she's overcome all that, and absolutely buzzing for her, which comes on to the next couple of stories.
So just not to kind of detract from that and try to make it a bit of a joke. Did anyone see? I don't know if anyone's seen the video of the Somalian sprinter, the woman.
No.
Oh my God, have you seen it, Muskie?
The one that is recorded, like the
one who's the slowest ever 100-meter sprint. Oh mate, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because, like,
in qualifying or something, was it?
I think it was the World Championships, wasn't it?
So it must have been one of the first rounds.
Yeah, it was one of the heats.
Yeah.
So anyway, like, they get off and stuff, and obviously they're flying, and there's always someone who's up behind. She's so far behind, she's off the camera.
Oh.
The race finishes. They pan into the winner of the race, and then they go back and see her coming over the line. And she comes over the line, and the best bit of the whole video, she does this lovely little skip at the end to say, yeah, I've done it. It was.
What time did
it's
she get?
comedy, mate. I think it was about
21 seconds.
21 seconds.
I was going to say like 12, 13. Oh, you mean like
21
No, like,
seconds.
Near enough double your time.
Wow.
Double the time.
Yeah.
why did she do that?
It's been investigated, or the Somalian whatever their association or something are investigating the selection process.
Yeah.
Like
Someone's been paid
like
that.
Like she's just won like a lucky dip or something, and it's got to be in the heats for the 100 meters.
Can I say though as well, right?
And by the way, that's not. And I think the winning time in that heat was a very competitive one. So
that's not taking it away from the women. Like,
yeah.
No. So that's one of the reasons though I didn't go to the Paralympics, because after Prince Harry's and Victor's games, I done the 400 meters in 63 seconds, and they were like, the next step would be the Paralympics. But some of the times that the single below amputees get in the Paralympics were like 47 seconds, 50 seconds. And I'm like, I've got to knock 13 seconds off my time. But they were like, there's a spot there for you though. Yeah. So I technically could have went the Paralympics, but I knew I would have come last.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to go to the Paralympics that much. Like you say, that dedication, just to know you're only going just to take part.
You would have been like Eddie the Eagle.
Yeah, essentially. And I thought, nah, I'm not doing it to myself.
Because I got a good movie out of that though. Eddie the Eagle's done alright, didn't he, in the end?
He got loads of sponsorship actually.
On ITV, lad.
I know, but there's another one for you.
I probably could still do it now.
That's a box set.
Lads, that'll be me at Christmas. I'll have 2 DVDs and a book. Sellotape them all together. But on that, the other little couple of linked stories that were talking about mindset is Asha Smith. She's the sprinter. I think she's from Manchester. She come out and was just like, I'm baffled at my time. She came third, and she's like, don't know what happened. She got 11 seconds. She was like running like something like 10.8 or something a few weeks back. She got like 11.5 seconds, come third, but she was just a bit like, don't know what the fuck's going on there. Like,
margins,
and that's what I'm
so
saying.
fine,
it's like, you train for a year, and you've got 10 seconds or less than 10 seconds to perform at your absolute best. And when it doesn't, she's just scratching her head, literally going, well, don't know what happened.
This is a little bit off topic, but I don't know if anyone's seen the reel of Gary Neville talking about exams and how it's not fair on kids to get judged on an exam.
Yeah.
Compare that to that then.
I know.
Like an exam's still 2 hours long, and obviously you've got multiple questions, you've got loads of time to prepare for it. Muskie knows as a teacher who's obviously prepared students for a lot of exams that, that you pretty much know what it's going to look like. And I know athletes know what that race is going to look like, but they're doing it 15, 20, 30 times a week. That actual, in almost the exact same, the same conditions. Yeah, as you say, something like that can happen. That's the real world, isn't it? Like if you're in, and I'm not saying, I'm not trying to say that Gary Neville's wrong in what he's saying, and I'm not saying I'm completely supportive of the notion of exams defining people, but in some walks of life, one event, single event, defines you and defines your legacy, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, totally, yeah. And it was just, I felt just so harsh on it like that. But then not only like you made a good example on exams. In an exam though, you're just getting judged on you. You're doing this over and over again, and you're just hoping that you're a little bit better.
Not anymore, Not to get is it 10? Is it you've got to be like
level 9? That's
level 9. Sorry, it's about where you are in relation to everyone else, isn't it? So to get a 9, you have to be in a certain percentage, don't you?
Year on year, it'll depend on how many people got a certain percentage that year, and then they'll change the grade boundaries year by year now.
Oh wow!
So it's the same now in modern GCSE exams.
So that whole thing, like it's just me against me, is bullshit now, isn't it? It's like me against me and a little bit of everyone else.
Yeah.
Asha Smith, I felt sorry for her now. She's just part of us all now.
She's in the same boat as everyone else. But no, it is. Listen, that's really unfortunate. And again, go back to that point, that whatever 0.3 of a second or whatever it was, 0.2 of a second.
Yeah.
That means now
she'll be second guessing every single thing she did that day.
Yeah.
Like
she just looked
what time she woke up, when she had her breakfast, all of those little tiny things that have been different from when she got a couple of milliseconds off last time or whatever.
And the last one on that, which again comes back to it, was it's Keely Hodgkinson. She's in 800 metre running. She basically just come out and pretty much summed up our conversation there that athletes don't get the recognition they deserve. When you think about the dedication and the hard work that goes in compared to some other sports, I know it's all down to kind of viewing figures and what's exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say that's it, isn't it? Unfortunately,
and it's just
and that's why so many people unfortunately choose sports over athletics. Yeah, so many times like NFL players who could have been sprinters and NBA players who could have been middle distance runners, and it's like, well, they looked at it and thought the dedication I'm going to have to put in for the limited reward and maybe the chance of just completely failing and having to go into another career after it, it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, because even if you do have a super successful career, you could end up ending your career at 35. You might have got an Olympic medal, which would be amazing.
Got nothing else you can do.
But you're probably not like...
You can't use your physicality for anything else.
Apart from an after-dinner speaker.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
He wants to do that?
Yeah. You only tell your story so many times. But yeah, I thought that was interesting in the athletics. And the last bit on kind of other sports, I seen, right, chess of all sports. One, whether chess is a sport or not, that's a whole debate in itself. But they've just banned transgender women for taking part, as in, you know, the men's chess.
What?
Honestly, let me just making sure that is just, I'm 100% certain on that. But
I mean, the only time I went to Iceland a few years ago and actually went and seen like a chess tournament just to see, like, I've watched the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up then.
So I watched that and stuff, and it was just like dead interesting seeing it in the flesh and watching them, like, watching the psychology. Yeah, it is quite. It's like watching a game of poker to a certain extent without some of the more extreme characters that you see in poker. But it
says here, the International Chess Foundation temporarily bans transgender women from competing in women's events. A decision on future participation could take up to 2 years. So
what's the reason behind?
I was going to say, is that suggesting that the intellect is
different? Yeah,
they still can compete in open events.
Okay, I didn't know there was. I thought that all chess competitions were mixed.
In the event that the gender has changed from male to a female, the player has no right to participate in official FIDE events for women until further notice.
What's the reason that it's not mixed?
It recognises that this is an evolving issue for chess, and that besides the technical regulations on transgender regulations, further policy may need to be evolved in the future in line with research evidence. So it's trying to say men are cleverer than women.
I mean, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's what it sounds like it is by making it, you know, a single sex competition. But then again, you've got that in darts, you've got that in snooker. There is female and male, and then there's mixed, isn't it?
But not when it comes to how clever you are, though, surely.
No, but snooker's not physical, really, is it? Apart from maybe screwing a shot every now and again. Darts, maybe the distance.
You know what? It is actually quite an interesting debate, then, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, what's the cut-off point of splitting the genders?
Of how physical?
I mean, obviously, you've seen it with Fallon Sherrick in the dart. She's played. She's competed. But that's an example. They have the women's world championships. But she's allowed to compete. She's allowed to compete. Yeah, it is. That is like there's no.
You're literally sitting on your.
You're not pushing. You know how hard you push the queen across the.
It's got to be on brains that someone thinks that men are cleverer than women, and not me. Cause I'm fucking thick as fuck.
Well, and if you were, you've got some battle on your hands. Yeah. Don't go home to your wife tonight if you're going to suggest that.
Mate, there's loads in the Prem to talk, but there is a bit on other sports before we get into the footy. You had the UFC this week. Didn't see much of it, just seen the main events because he's a bit of a character, that Sean O'Malley. I actually just seen his Instagram afterwards where he's got like braids in his hair, they're all different colours, and he was smoking a spliff with the UFC belt on him, which then made me look at actually what happens, as I knew he would have won. And I thought his post-match, post-fight little mic thing was quite funny. It was something like, "You've got me for the next 10 years now, motherfuckers," you know, type of thing, like, yeah. And crazy knockout, like, just
I haven't seen it.
Clipped him, and then he just like pounds him for about 20 punches on the deck. And it looks like it's going to be the new era for Sugar Sean O'Malley. Tennis as well. I was left heartbroken when Novak was beaten in Wimbledon. I was heartbroken because I love Novak and I had a few quid on him. And then when I didn't have a few quid on him, I'm not that bothered.
He got his own back.
He gets his own back in Cincinnati. He beats Carlos Alcaraz 3-1, which sets up a nice, tasty battle in the US Open. So the qualifiers start this week. So I'm assuming the US Open properly starts next week.
Yeah, and I tipped up Medvedev. He lost out to Zverev last week. Bit of an abject performance. He lost the first set, won the second one, and was ahead, I think, in the third set, and ends up losing it. But I still fancy him to do well. I feel like he was saving 10 or 20% there. You know, when you're in a bit of a game and you're half thinking, do you want to push this a little bit further, or do you just want to take the defeat and move on to the US?
US Open, it's one of the big. I mean, that's one sporting event I would love to go to.
US Open final.
Just that blue court, the lights, looks unbelievable. We'll do that one year. yeah, that's it. In the boxing for this weekend, we're touching that, then we get bang into the footy. Don't think anything happened last weekend, did it? In the boxing, anything of note?
No, not since
this
it was
weekend,
AJ, wasn't it? The last
Yeah.
notable bill.
So the big one this weekend is Usyk against Dubois. I'm hoping. Well, you know what? I'm not even as a Brit. I was going to lie and say I hope Dubois wins. I don't. I hope Usyk wins because I want to keep the big fights on the table. Not that I think they'll ever happen, but I think if Usyk was to get beat, I think you can cancel the Fury fight.
I can't see it happening, but I just think it's always interesting. He's not a natural heavyweight. Dubois is a big, powerful guy, and he's got Olympic pedigree. He's brought up the right way, if you like. He's had a big setback against Joe Joyce 4 or 5 fights ago, but I still see him as being an outstanding talent. I know a lot of people will say he's not at that level, and I can't disagree with that. But you're still in against a fully blown heavyweight, a big, massive puncher, and someone who's got the technical ability to
everything you've just said about
land a
Dubois
shot.
there, though, yeah. Joshua had exactly that same pedigree, Olympic pedigree, all that.
Yeah,
and he disposed of him twice.
But he's not. He's not. Yeah, and he might be in the same headspace as Joshua in the sense that he lost, if you like, against the odds against Joe Joyce and was completely dismantled. So we will find out to a certain extent whether that's broken him. He's a very, very confident guy, Dubois. He has a lot of confidence in his ability. Unfortunately, he can't speak very well, which I think is his biggest problem when it comes to promoting. He's awful when it comes, in front of the mic and in front of the camera. But I'm curious about it. I always am. I think when someone who's not naturally at that weight comes in. I mean, Usyk is a extreme talent, as we all know, and could easily just win every round, and he could easily finish it off late in the contest. I don't see it being, if he is going to get him out of there, I certainly don't see it being an early knockout. I think it'll be accumulation, late stoppage, probably 8-12, 9-12. The bookies normally offer a 9-12, so I think if you're going to have a bit of interest in the contest, it'll be a late stoppage in favour of Usyk. I do, but it's always interesting if Dubois lands, what happens. If any heavyweight, we say that in any heavyweight contest in particular, when you're in there, you've got a puncher's chance, and Dubois got more than a puncher's chance against a fighter who's not near the size of him.
I'm actually going to come right back on myself as well. I said that, if Usyk wins, it keeps the kind of Fury fight alive. He's probably got more chance of fighting Fury if he gets beat, because then Fury will offer him an even crapper deal.
Probably Fury will think, well, I've seen what I've seen there. Yeah. I'm more than confident I get rid of him. It blows it open though, doesn't it? You say that, or want to keep them. The division's so poor now in terms of making fights. It blows the whole thing open if Dubois wins. Yeah. So you say it probably takes Usyk down a notch. It probably convinces him to make fights he wouldn't have thought about before, in desperation to get back to that level. Dubois gets another fight, maybe be another all British affair. Maybe it's Dubois and Joshua then that gets made quite quickly, because I think Joshua would be more than keen to take down Fancy himself. So I think it blows it open. I'm actually disagree. I think if Dubois goes and shocks the world at the weekend, I think it makes the division more competitive again and more interesting.
The other boxing, if you want to call it that, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's KSI against Jake Paul.
Tommy Fury.
Tommy Fury, sorry.
Yeah,
that's how much I know about it.
Yeah, I noticed you wrote that. I thought you were just comparing it.
No, KSI against Tommy Fury, I mean, don't even really, do you want to talk about it?
I mean, we were talking about it Muskie on the way over, weren't we? I don't, and I think Muskie agrees with me, but I'll allow him to say his own piece. I don't necessarily disagree with the route that Tommy Fury's taken now. And they've said
he's not a boxer though, is he, anymore?
Well, not at the moment. Not at the moment. He's not. He's competing in this alternative version of boxing, but he's earning 20, 30, 40 times the money he'd be earning if he was fighting at British level, which is where he would be based on the rankings. He's getting well more attention, and he's a marketable product. So if you went up to any of the...
He's only marketable because of his brother.
Whatever, but
he was on Love Island as well, though.
He was on Love Island.
Because of his brother.
Yeah, but he becomes Muskie's right. By being on Love Island, there's a huge market there that attracted by him aesthetically, and also by him, the fact that they like his personality, they like the relationship.
He's not that bright, is he? Have you seen him on that clip at the Fury?
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
no, he's not.
He said, "Can I cut the placenta?" or something. He says,
him and his partner are like, again, the atypical pretty like Love Island couple, aren't they? They're not trying to be. I don't think they're trying to be something they're not, and I don't think he is. He openly said after the Jake Paul fight, "I'm having a bit of this. Like, this is where I can earn money."
Well, this KSI, I mean, he obviously Tommy Fury beat Jake Paul, didn't he? That was it. So he's just open to try and beat another YouTuber type thing.
Well, he literally called him out after the Jake Paul fight. He said, "I'm ready for you now, KSI. Let's have that one." So, and again, I said to Muskie in the car, I think he said it himself, I'm gonna ride this gravy train until I'm ready to go. And
there's that bit I actually quite respect and I quite like. You know, I like anyone who makes a few quid for themselves. I really do. I've got a lot of time for it. I think
the fact that he's not shying away from that, and he's not on the blag saying like, "Oh, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing." It's good that he's come out and said it.
I'd much prefer that. Yeah.
He did say
being transparent about it all.
He did say, "Look, one day I want to be world champion, but at the moment that's not on my horizon. Yeah. I'm looking to."
See, I think same with like the footy and the Saudi money. Just be open and honest with us. Like, don't treat us for fools. Just say, I can make loads of money.
And let's be honest, I think, and Muskie made a really good point again. He said, I can see now how the media are starting to embrace this and realising we've got to get on board with it because millions of other people are interested in it. Yeah. So why are we not broadcasting it? I mean, TalkSport are at the presser today for that. Not for the Dubois fight. They're at the presser for that.
Well,
instead of the Dubois Usyk fight, which
they're either at the presser for that or they're on the presser for what's on the undercard, which is Logan Paul against Dylan Dennis. We were speaking off air, there's
subplots.
There's subplots that you might think I'm wrong for laughing at. But basically, I think it was Sugar Ray. No, who was it? What's the famous book, The Art of War? It's like the famous philosophical book, The Art of It.
I know what you mean.
The Chinese,
get it now.
The bloody Chinese war. Anyway, and it says like there's physical warfare, mental warfare, and something like spiritual warfare or something like that. So you can break a man. And this Dylan Dennis has gone, well, like we said as well, he's gone for kind of the mental warfare by coming at Jake's missus. Is it Jake or which one is it?
Logan Paul's
missus, which you could argue is a bit unfair, but it's some of it.
It's tasteful maybe, but it's
one of those jokes where you should
trying to hit him where it hurts.
You shouldn't laugh, but you do. Like some of them are funny.
Yeah, they are.
He's gone hard though after that.
He's gone really hard.
He's made videos and if you believe what he's put, she's had quite an extensive background of boyfriends. Let's just put it that way. And I think
high profile boyfriends.
And he's put up most of them up on.
every time she's been papped, like kissing someone.
And then basically some OnlyFans porn star has then come to defend her, and then he's gone back at her. And stuff. Someone said like, you know, God, you're having beef, and he's put like, it's not the only beef she's had and stuff. And he's quite good at the comebacks.
He's witty, he's witty. Yeah.
And so there's a bit of debate on what is the main show on this kind of Misfits Boxing. Is it kind of the KSI, Tommy Fury, or is it that one?
It's all attention. It's all again, it's all content, all publicity. And again, like going back to it, and we spoke off air about it. I think Logan will be saying to his partner, look, you're gonna have to try and have a thick skin here because he's. You know, we don't have to bite back. It's all good because it's all publicity for this fight. It's all going to make it more genuine, the hatred.
Make the money.
And it's all money that you're going to get.
Just imagine Mrs. going, we're going to make loads of money, but everyone thinks I'm a massive slag.
I know. When are you going to defend me? I was like, I can't bite.
So it's going to make for an interesting weekend anyway. Mate, on to the more serious stuff of football.
The more serious stuff.
You know what? We'll stick on the mega serious stuff for a minute. And then we'll go into the light-hearted, me giving you shit. Mason Greenwood situations got sorted this week. I'm actually quite
sorted, did it?
Well, it hasn't got sorted, but a decision's been made, which actually shocked me. I thought that money would talk in the end. Let's face it, before this happened,
money still talked, and I'll get into that in a second.
Well, the way I look at it, Mason Greenwood is essentially, before this happened, one would argue, his age, his ability, his potential. It wouldn't have been crazy to think United would have got 70, 80, 90, 100 million for him. I don't think personally. That wouldn't have been crazy to ask. Now this has happened, he hasn't played in a year, and they've decided to get rid of him. I didn't think they would because of the valuable asset that he's worth.
They haven't got rid of him. Can I just tell you, they haven't got rid of him. They've said he's never going to play for Man United again. They've retained his contract.
Okay, so they're gonna move him on.
Yeah, they're gonna move him on. Yeah. But they've
potentially
retained.
Take a loss.
what you define as a loss though? When you've got an asset, you can't really.
They could have terminated his contract if they wanted to,
and paid him off, but they've decided to retain his contract, as in like he's still a Man United asset.
So yeah,
he's allowed to go elsewhere.
So they're still going to sell him then.
Yeah.
But my point is, they haven't went down the route of let's bring him back into the fold.
Only because it got out, it got leaked, didn't it? And employees of Man United, people around like who were involved in the financial side of the business, basically said this is a PR disaster. You can't do this. So
yeah, the Athletic done a report on it, and they were all literally come together and said, yeah, we're happy to have him in the fold. And then after a few hours, they backtracked massively.
Yeah.
Do you think that leak was intentional to kind of test the water, or do you think it was an actual?
Great shout, yeah.
Potentially,
but I just think.
I just don't think he needed to do that. I mean, various fan groups had done like polls with fans, and it was
obvious,
unanimous and overwhelming. There's obviously two sides to it, isn't there? In terms of like there's the fan reaction, but there's also the public backlash and the value of the Man United franchise based on their decision as well.
Did you see some of the quotes though that come from in that statement? And it's like they said he hasn't done nothing wrong.
Because they can't say he has, can they?
Yeah, but in the
he's denied it in the court of law.
Legally in court, he hasn't done anything wrong.
That would have been part of the little agreement. Is to either got together with his agent or his lawyer and said, "Look, this is the statement. Tell us what." And he's went, "Nope, can't have that in. You've got to say he didn't do nothing wrong. Okay, we'll do that. Listen, and that's the bit like. I mean, look, it could have been done a lot more swift, and if legal matters take a while, and you've got to tread carefully, haven't you? And it could have definitely been resolved quicker than this, and he could have handled it better. But top and bottom of it is the right conclusion has been made in terms of like he's not going to play for his boyhood club again.
Yeah, for one of the all I mean though is I think United not easily, but they could have weathered the storm, kept all of them, reintegrated them into the squad, and then got him back to being an absolute player again, which I think he's definitely got in his locker, and then act as if nothing had happened and then sold him for the 100 million.
I think that would have been harder, and I think it would have been more stress and
financially more lucrative though.
I don't know,
sponsorship.
You look at Suarez.
The collateral damage of that though.
Look at Suarez though, when he was a racist and he said that to Patrice Evra. Liverpool branded racists. It didn't stop us from keeping hold of him, nearly winning the league, and everyone forgot about it.
There's making a racist comment and then there's repeated physical but he hasn't done it, no, mental.
Suarez was charged, he wasn't charged. See what I mean? I think people easily, as sad as it is,
one slip of the tongue or whatever, which okay, I think there's a difference in there because someone. Yeah.
See, we kept hold of him through all of that
on the pitch and like in the heat of battle. Do you know what I mean? Like
I think as terrible as this sounds, I think it would have got forgotten about in time.
Yeah, I think there was a way to navigate through it. I don't disagree with that, and I think as we touched on it on the last episodes, I think if he'd have come out, him personally made a statement, admitted to the wrongs, which he's done. He said, "Look, I've my behaviour's been unacceptable. Blah blah. I'm not admitting guilt, but I'm saying that I can be a better person." If he had talked about the steps he was going through to rehabilitate himself, if he was donating money to certain charities, it doesn't get rid of the wrong. But it shows remorse.
Put him in a better light, yeah.
Yeah, and so if all those steps were taken, and it was like, look, I'm accepting the club have decided that I need to take this time out of the game for X amount of time. During this period, I'm going to be rehabilitating, I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z for these charities, I'm going to be working on my family life, blah, blah, blah. Then I think in time people do go, okay, look, people do deserve a second chance.
Yeah.
And that could have happened, but I think the heart, not just the heartache, but I think the stress and the collateral damage that goes with that process was probably not going to be worth it for the club and the individual.
But I think though, in the last bit I was saying it, I think though, if it sounds like he's not going to play in the Prem, he's either going to go off to Europe or he's going to go off to Saudi, probably Europe because he's still so young. What happens though, and let's just say he goes to PSG, playing up front, Mbappe goes to Real Madrid, he goes to PSG, and he becomes the new Mbappe, if you like. And
not going to be though, is he?
Lad, he's a player though.
He's a player, yeah, but he's just not going to be. Like,
but let's just say a minute though,
he won't touch him.
Mate, if he goes to PSG and rips it up, right, and Real Madrid comes sniffing next year for 150 million in 5 years, that could potentially happen, and then everyone will look back at this.
But I promise you, if that happens, there'll be a PR exercise that goes on between those two periods, whether it's before, after, or during it, where he has to show, demonstrate.
I'm purely looking at it from Man United's point of view, thinking, did they make the right decision? I mean,
United would have covered themselves sufficiently, believe me. There's a compensation that would be in there because of his age. They would be due a compensation even if his contract ran down. It wouldn't be the multi-millions that they got, but they still would have got compensation for him. The fact they've retained his contract means that someone will still have to pay a significant fee for him.
Maybe you're right. Maybe listen, they're far more intelligent than me, thinking if they're doing the right thing or not. I'm just looking.
I certainly don't think it's an ideal scenario for United. It's not. From a business point of view, it's far from ideal. They'll still be kicking themselves because he's one of the best players to have been produced by United.
I really liked him. Another player who's come out this week and arguably maybe shouldn't have come out. It reminds me a little bit like the Conor Ben stuff when he done the Piers Morgan show, and he probably shouldn't have done it. Bit of a PR disaster. Ivan Toney come out this week on the diary of his CEO and spoke about his gambling ban. From everyone's reaction from it, it seems like a bit of a disaster, if you like. It doesn't seem as if he's taken a lot of responsibility for what he's doing. He's blaming the club, saying things like, we should be told what we can and can't do. One of his excuses was he come out and said, listen, I was only betting on myself to score first goal, so that's helping the team. What he didn't realise is if he's one-on-one,
I was going to say, and the best decision is to pass to someone.
But he's thinking, I want to win 50 grand if I score. So he's come out and said a few gaffes, if you like, that, I don't think it paints him in a great light, and it just looks a little bit like victim mentality still, I thought, from the bits I've seen. I'm
just you know what I'm surprised about, and I always look to the authorities here in the FA and the Premier League. How on earth has he not been given a gagging order or been told, if you talk about this, particularly if you belittle what you're doing here, then we'll just throw another ban at you? Because
even the club, though, why didn't the club say to him, listen, you're not saying anything on this?
Because the club probably scared already, thinking we're going to lose you.
Well, that's what Simon Jordan was saying. They're in such a tough. If you're the chairman of that club, you say to him, right, you've got yourself banned for 6 months, 9 months, whatever it is.
Keep your head down.
I'm not paying you because you've got yourself banned. It's your own fault. But then you run the risk then of the player saying, well, if you're going to not pay me and whatever, I'm going to leave.
Get out of my contract.
I'm just going to leave. So you've almost got to still pay him, but then you kind of got to be nice to him.
That's why I think the authorities have got a responsibility. They're the ones who banned him. They're the ones who had the opportunity to go, well, look at it. They said in their words, we're setting a precedent here. It's not going to be accepted. It's not going to be tolerated. This is almost like the amnesty now, where you know what the repercussions are. Just don't do it now. But now you've got him going out, as you say, and turning the blame on someone else and not taking responsibility. He should be punished again. He's got
a bee in his bonnet because he never won the World Cup. That's his big bugbear.
I'm not having that a football player doesn't know that he can't bet on football.
I'm not having it either.
Not
it's ridiculous. I'm not having it. Anyone who's it's inside the trading, I think you put it that way. Like it's
you had as well on the gambling one. You've had the West Ham lad who's
Paqueta.
Do you know what he was betting on?
Himself to get booked.
And he's on in a double with someone else in another country, wasn't it? Another Brazilian player in Spain.
Now that is, come on, that's worse than.
But on the same day that happened, multiple accounts were made.
Yeah.
A lot of money's been bet on those accounts, so that's just flagged up straight away. That's not even being discreet about it. No. And the challenges as well were unbelievably nailed on yellows. Yeah. Possibly one of them might have even been a red if he wanted it.
It must be about, though, that's surely not about money. It must just be about a bit of a buzz or something, because he's not betting on himself. I can't imagine he's putting like 100 grand on himself to score first goal. It must be 20 quid or something, 100 quid. Anyway, he sounds like he's got himself into even more trouble.
Well, it's caused his City deal to break down. That's it now. City don't want to.
Paqueta's deal, that is, two bit mad stories that come out this week. We also had the heartache of England's women. Got beat 1-0 by Spain. Did you see the girl who scored? What a goal, by the way.
Quality.
Unbelievable finish with a left foot. The left back runs down the wing, pings it.
Do you know what was great about the goal, and obviously they analysed it inside out, is it was just so concise from the Spanish team. They literally identified Lucy Bronze is out of position, bang, bang.
Lucy Bronze makes ruthless. This mad run to almost like the left mid position. And
she was just trying. She was getting caught in traffic, wasn't she? Just trying to look for the pass, doesn't find it.
And like you say, they just
instantly went bang, and it was like, that's worthy of a World Cup final. It's like the team recognised that they were good enough to execute it, and it was perfect.
Well, I think again, you play footy at a better level than me. That kind of you know, action where you let the ball roll in front of you and then, do you know what I mean? It's
cut across it, yeah.
And the England's keeper's been great all tournament, but
no one's saving it.
No one's saving it.
No,
and did you see as well though, when the game had finished, she was told after the game that her dad had died a couple of days before. She wasn't told to stop the...
I didn't know that. I thought she already knew that his dad had died.
No, she found out after. He died before, I don't know how long before.
2 days it was.
But yeah, she didn't get told until afterwards.
So you talk about the prep that she's been, you know, going on for the final, didn't get told, scores the goal, lifts the World Cup and then's told, unfortunately, your dad passed away.
No.
So real mix of emotions for her, which leaves the Lionesses coming home empty-handed. I've seen a bit of stick that they got because in Heathrow, they never kind of, you know, come out for the fans. They kind of went down a little side exit. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, you've just... Fans have been waiting at Heathrow to give them a bit of a hero's welcome. And they just done a little side, what me and Muskie done on Saturday for your birthday, a little side door shuffle. Well, they got a bit of shit anyway for not seeing the fans. The bigger picture is, though, England's manager. We spoke a little bit last week, you know, does she have now the credentials, the CV to go and maybe manage in the men's game, whether that's internationally or in the Premier League? I think that's a question now that will just linger now for as long as, you know...
As long as there's not a vacancy, still there's a vacancy that she is capable of filling. And then it's really at the... of how, if you like, how well one of those associations will hold the nerve and go, right, she's the right candidate, let's give her the job.
There's been so many interesting debates on it as well. You know, it's like how are we going to kind of put men's and women's football? I mean, is it the same sport? You know,
well, it's interesting you say that, and Talk Sport have like danced around it a little bit today. And one of the points that one of them made, can't remember who it was, they basically said, so why are we suggesting that she has to leave the women's game now and go into men's? What is that a step up now? Are we suddenly saying that it is miles behind now? Commercially, obviously, as we're having or women and people in general having the debate on a daily basis, saying they're not paid well enough, blah blah blah. The simple default answer is that unfortunately there's still not enough spectators and people who are, you know, subscribing to channels and watching games and viewing it to attract the level of sponsorship that the men's game gets. So that would be the default answer, to say, well, it's going to be more money for her if she goes up. But then no one's asked her. She hasn't come out and said, all right, the next challenge for me is the men's game. Now, if you're an international manager, which she is, I would like to think she's still got the hunger to win the World Cup. She's lost 2 finals now. I'd almost think there's still enough money for an FA, whether it's you know, the English FA hopefully, or it's the KMVB, or it's, you know, Brazil or the US, who go, right, we'll give you $2 million a year, which puts you almost on par with
the US are looking for a manager now.
That wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. They're the biggest. They are still the biggest force in women's footy domestically and internationally.
I don't know how the Women's World Cup works, but obviously the next World Cup for the men is in America. Don't know where the next Women's World Cup is, but you never know. I think Messi going there, the next World Cup being in America, it wouldn't completely shock me if they did swoop in and pick it up. But I was gutted for the Lionesses. Alex Greenwood as well, Bootle's finest.
Unbelievable.
Took a nasty knock to the head and carried on. I was hoping that, you know, do the old Terry Butcher thing and you see her lifting her up at the end. But
she literally looked jaded for about 10 minutes after as well. You seen her getting the ball, she looked a bit unsteady.
And she come back and made a great tackle as well.
Yeah, that tackle where she like hooks it with her feet and keeps it. And then Mary Earps as well, Queen of Stops. What a boss little nickname that is. Yeah, Mary Queen of Stops.
Did you see the little meme where she went, fuck off?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
They said they're all going to get it on a t-shirt, aren't they? A bit like a Nike thing.
So yeah, Women's World Cup over. Gutted for them. I mean, I did really want them to win. I was gutted. And probably the bit of the show you don't want to talk about. But let's move into Prem. In fact, we'll talk about the Prem, but we'll link it to the women's game. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games in. Everton are in the bottom 3. Sean Dyche gets the chop. Would you consider a move for England's women's manager?
No.
Why?
Because she's never managed domestically, let alone... You know, she's never managed domestically.
She's got like you just said,
two
women's finals.
But I did make the point last week that I think the one thing I'd say is, coming into the domestic game, even I'd like to see her achieve something in the women's domestic game at one of the top clubs first before she makes the move into men's, and it's not. But I just think I think it's a different job, and I say the same if it was a men's manager. If you've got a men's manager who's very successful internationally, I don't think he automatically walks into a top domestic job. I think it's a different job.
It's day in, day out.
Yeah, it is. Day in, day out. It's you're recruiting players. You've got to manage egos in a different way. You can't just... it's very, very different. And I think it's been proven that in the men's game. So I'll straight away say no. I wouldn't turn down a women's manager if she was a top domestic manager. I can't think of anyone, maybe off the top of my head, who it would be. But it wouldn't be... That wouldn't be a reason why I'd knock it back.
Well, on that note then, and I'm not, kind of pushing you down this kind of road of, Sean Dyche should be going.
He's not the problem.
In 6
he's
to 10
not the biggest
games.
problem.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I've always felt as a Liverpool fan looking at Everton, there's been different times in Everton's kind of, period. Certainly when I've
in recent history,
where I've kind of thought, that manager actually is quite good for them, or he'd be a good suit. That'd be a good suit. I think last year you needed a Sean Dyche, to get you out of the shit, which he did. This season I heard even a few Blues saying, is he the right man to then push us on?
We're still not ready to be pushed on though.
You still think that type of character is needed?
I do, because we still haven't got the resources to revamp the squad. If you bring in, and we spoke about this in our podcast on Across the Park yesterday, and I said, and it was actually one of our Twitter followers who said the last manager or coach we had who came in who looked capable and willing to revamp the squad and change things was Marco Silva, and we got impatient very quickly with him because we weren't getting the results and sacked him. But he did have the kit. We had the kitty there, but he wasn't given the players that he wanted, so he was thrown under the bus in that sense. Sean Dyche, I don't think is a revamp manager. I think maybe being disrespectful for him because he's never had them tools at his disposal, but doesn't scream to me that he'll be the type of person who'll sell every player in the squad or aim for that and slowly rebuild, the other way. He'll always have his favourites. He'll always have players that he plays in a certain system. He'll always have a type of football that he'll go to as a default. I think he's very simplistic in the way he works. Nothing wrong with that. And that's why I still think he's the man for the job. I still think he's going to have to put some square pegs in round holes, and he's always had to do that. Certain managers won't put up with that. They'll say, no, I don't want him in the team. I'd rather play 19-year-olds at right back because he's my type of player. But we're not in a position to do that.
Do you think, though, you're going to be in a position? Because, you were very open and honest, thinking that, you probably wouldn't get anything from the game, and you didn't. It was 4-0. But
the manner of the defeat was more concerning.
That's what kind of I looked at and thought, bloody, I didn't expect. I actually had, Aston Villa down to win. I thought they would win, but I didn't think it'd be 4-0.
No, and I said yesterday that there's three parties at fault for not only that performance but the general poor start to the season. Kevin Thelwell and his recruitment team, the players and the manager, in that order. Kevin Thelwell has not given Sean Dyche good enough tools to build a team, a side that are capable of competing with Villa. The players on Sunday have not won individual battles. I don't care who what position you're meant to be playing in, what system you're playing, blah, blah, blah. If after 10 minutes, you're getting beat 1-0, 2-0, and you're getting outdone in most areas, you turn around and go, I'm just going to make this simple now. He's not getting past me, and I'm going to win me individual battles. No one done that. They kind of said, we're playing in the system, we're playing narrow, let's do that and let's be passive. Anana didn't touch them. He didn't get near anyone in the midfield. Akore didn't get near anyone in the midfield. Ghana Guy was like a rabbit in the headlights. Michael Keane, as always, just went to bits. Nathan Patterson I felt a little bit sorry for, but for me, if you're a fullback and that wide fullback's coming so far forward and he's killing you, go and get closer to him. There was just no individual responsibility taken on the pitch. And the third person in there is Sean Dyche. I think he set us up incorrectly. I think he's worked, for me, the players too hard, too late in the pre-season. They looked leggy, they looked jaded. So, but that's the order of fault and responsibility at the moment for me, and Sean Dyche is bottom of that list.
The big thing, I think, which is a massive concern for Evertonians, is you look at this time last year, you had Frank Lampard in, and Aston Villa had Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard was woeful.
They got rid of him and got a top manager.
Got a top manager in.
But they were able to back him.
And look at him now.
They were able to back him now, and that's the difference. Like, if we were in a position where...
You didn't get rid of Lampard, though, till so late, though, did you?
I know, but that's another reason we did that. We did that because we already knew that he'd invested in the players he wanted. And, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm fairly certain the talk behind closed doors was, if we sack Frank Lampard now, we can't afford to get in a top manager because we probably can't afford to pay his salary, to pay compensation for the club he's at, and two, we can't afford to back him, so he's not going to come to us. So there's only a select few that we can actually pick up at this moment in time. So I think our options were limited anyway, and they still were limited in the summer. Even if the club And the management and Kevin Thel went, listen, let's be honest, Sean Dyche isn't our man long term. Let's go and do it now. Because of FFP, our hands were tied behind our backs.
I think that is though the concerning thing. You know, you look at how, you know, with the right people in, how quickly things can change for the positive. You know, Aston Villa have been unbelievable.
Yeah, and listen,
and it's just not happened at Everton. And now you're in the predicament where it looks like it could potentially be another, you know, long slog of a season.
I just don't compare apples with apples when we talk about Aston Villa and us. I do agree in terms of that, you know, simple fact that, you know, we had two poor managers who may be out of their depth last season. One club's replaced the other one, brought a better one in, but the key difference is they've been able to back him. They've been able to give him the best part of 200 million to spend to get his players in, to start to put his stamp on it. And let's not forget, he has an half-decent squad anyway. Steven Gerrard wasn't working with mugs there. Do you know what I mean? He just wasn't getting them playing.
They've got a great left back, haven't they?
He's getting well. I actually don't think he is, to be honest. And I'm not going to.
It up. But one thing though who did get wound up was Calvert-Lewin's dad. Put on Facebook. I thought it was Twitter. You correctly told me it was Facebook. Put out a big thing, basically calling you all Stone Island wearing moaners or something. It was, wasn't it? Something like those lines.
Naming away ends when you're 4-0 down. It's not going to be as negative as we were, and I think your fans might probably were worse than Stone Island, if I'm honest. But yeah, look, the fans were very disgruntled when Calvert-Lewin was removed. I said I could hear. I mean, I didn't go on Sunday. I was not back from Aldi till very late, but I could hear the boos, and it was like a bit of a thumbs up from Calvert-Lewin, and some of my mates were saying, "Oh no, he's just acknowledging the fans." I was like, "No, there was definitely boos there." And I think fans were frustrated the fact that he's only been back on the pitch for 20 minutes and he's walking off again with a different injury.
Hardly his fault though, this one.
No. I mean,
you can't play on with that, like.
What?
You couldn't.
You couldn't. Not that you find out.
As if he's like pulling up and going, my hamstring.
No, it's a broken cheekbone, yeah, and he's done it competing for a ball. And unfortunately, I think the concussion protocols now mean that even if he wants to, he can't play for 2 weeks.
His dad's heard it all. His dad said, "Look, you know, I think he said he'd been crying. He said that, you know, it's him again. Who's, you know, the fans don't know anything type thing." And there's a real pop at the fans. And is he right to do it? Listen, I haven't got a son. I don't know how I'd feel if I heard 5,000 people, you know, booing me son.
It wasn't 5,000 people, by the way. There was a proportion of the fans that were booing because they were frustrated that, again, Calvert-Lewin walks off the pitch. Now, I'm sure, I can't, as I always say, I can't speak for all the fans, but I'm sure most of them fans, knowing that he's broke his cheekbone, will be like, oh, all right, if I'd known that, I maybe wouldn't have been so frustrated. But the fact of the matter, and it happened with Yerry Mina last season. Remember Yerry Mina limping off the pitch after 15 minutes, after he'd been out for 10 games and he's only been on the pitch for 15 minutes. I remember the fans having a go at him, going, "You're messing you, like, get yourself into some decent shape here." And yeah, in that instance, I'm pretty sure that most of them fans didn't realise what had gone on, how it has happened, you know, whether it was actually a serious injury.
I'm just thinking though, Calvert-Lewin's mindset now, he knows that his alpha fella is, you know, upset and he's frustrated to the point where he's venting his emotions on social media. Does that have an impact on Calvert-Lewin's form, on his kind of
I'd like to think not. He did put a post out, like a story, about a few hours after that, in the hospital, just saying, look, didn't go out, I wanted it to go today, didn't go, the team wanted it to go. You know, unfortunately, as an injury, I should be back very shortly. So you can't.
I just mean, though, that, listen, you know, we spoke, I think, last week, that when you played against Brighton last season, you know, a must-win game where no one think you would have got anything from it. He played great. You ended up winning. It's one of these. He's a player where when he's playing, playing a different way. He's needed,
and that's why the fans are so frustrated. It's like,
but if it's getting to a point now where his dad's coming on social media venting about it, he's in his son's ear going, oh, "Fuck them." Does it start turning his head where he's like, you know what, I'm not arsed? I
don't think so.
But to the point though where if he does pick up an injury and Sean Dyche is going, "Look, are you ready?" And he's got to start thinking at some point, why the fuck should I risk myself when they all leave me anyway?
My argument against that would be, if he really wants to move, which look, I'm sure it won't be far from his mind, thinking I'd rather be somewhere else now, he's got to prove that he can stay fit for a few games. So it's not in his interest to be ducking and diving out of games, even if that's half on his mind. If he gets back on the team and starts scoring goals and was the player that he was towards the end of, you know, Ancelotti's reign or the middle of it, then the teams that were sniffing around him will be back sniffing around him again. So I think, yeah, I'd like to think that from that perspective, it's not even close to his mind. I think he's thinking, whether he's thinking F the fans or not, he's got to be getting himself fit and getting back to form and getting back to scoring goals. But the next week is crucial for us, not least the game on Saturday against Wolves at home, because that if you lose that game as a group of players, you're thinking Wolves are probably the 3rd or 4th worst team in the league if it's not us, and if they beat us at Goodison, then it's clearly us.
Your next 3 games are Wolves at home, Doncaster away, Sheffield United away. In the league, you'd like to go through.
They're all very winnable games, Andy. You can't ask for.
I think you need 4 points from the next 2 Prem games. Like,
I think if we don't get 4 points from the next 2 Prem games, that you've really got concerns already that this team is good enough to be getting enough points. And I don't mean like concerns that we're going down because look, we're only 5 games into the season or 4 games into the season. But if you can't pick up points against Wolves at home and Sheffield United away, then there's got to be question marks over whether that team's good enough to stay up.
On that cheery note, we'll move on to Liverpool. I mean, I'm not as excited, I'm not as doom and gloom as you, but I'll be honest, I'm not super excited from our performance against Bournemouth. I think the first 5 minutes, I know Muskie were at the game. I got into the boozer and 2-0 or 2. We conceded 2 goals in the first 5 minutes, albeit one being offside, but just looked so shaky.
Both from similar sloppy play at the back.
Trent, I mean, again, his defending, getting kind of spoken about. It just doesn't fill me. I mean, we ended up, arguably blowing them away, let's say, in the end. But I think we'll do that with most teams going forward. I think, we will outscore most teams. But the style of football and the kind of winning mentality that's been bred these last few years, I don't think any Liverpool fans are just going to be happy to just blow teams away. They need to be an all-round team, a team that's able to defend, because like we've seen, it's all right being able to, concede against Bournemouth, but come back and score 3, 4, 5. When you get into the Champions League and Real Madrid are there, you probably might not score 1, never mind 2, but you probably are going to concede. Yeah. And that's where you just think, what's the point?
The thing is, your fans have seen the type of team that is going to, or the type or the ingredients that it takes, as you're getting at, to be a successful team. And I think most of your fans, correct me if I'm wrong, are looking at going, that team is missing so many of them ingredients, it's untrue.
Yeah, and listen, I think going forward, probably got arguably some of the best 5 or 6 attacking players in the league. The midfield, we're yet to really see what it's going to look like.
Kevin Keegan, your manager now, is he?
It seems a little bit like it, though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what it screams to me. That statement alone, it's like, well.
But it's so funny you say that. If you see in the little clip behind the scenes with Liverpool when Jurgen Klopp welcomes the new Endo, the Japanese lad, and he says, we really need you. He's like, going forward, we're very good, but so I think he even knows that. We'll blow anyone away going forward. But the problem for Klopp is you need to stop goals going in. Yeah. Thankfully, we've got Alisson, who, despite his bit of a mare in the first minute, did make some good saves.
I think he was looking for his Rolex watch when he come off, and he wasn't there.
There was a lad there off County Road ready to give him one. Listen, it was against Bournemouth. I expected us to win. The only concern I've got is, we still look shaky at the back. There's still talk of players coming in. The latest one I've seen was the lad from Bayern. They're still getting talks from United. They're still kind of sniffing around him. There's talk that the deal's already done for the Brazilian lad as well, but he won't get announced until after the Copa Libertadores, so he won't be coming until January. So listen, I'm probably being a bit spoiled given the football and the success I've seen in the last few years, but I'm not super excited at the minute for Liverpool season.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed that town, or I've not quite seen or whatever, but Spurs have started okay, haven't they, without Harry Kane?
Oh yeah, I've definitely noted them down. Did not expect them to get the result against United. I don't know whether that was Spurs playing really well or United being crap. Probably.
Do you know who's been outstanding the first 2 games? Basuma. I mean, I think I remember your fans being disappointed that you didn't try and sign him when Tottenham did last season. He obviously had a disappointing season and was in and out the team or whatever, but first couple of games he's been superb.
Well, I'll be honest with the whole Spurs thing. I was really interested to after you said it. You made a really good point a few weeks back that if Kane goes, this Ange is you're going to have to really build a team now. It's not going to be like the Spurs of old where just get the ball to Kane, he's probably going to score 30. This is now a Spurs team that needs to reinvent themselves with different players, they need different heroes each week, and it looks exactly what they've done. They've beat a United team where, me and you spoke how much we like Ten Hag, and he's blown them away, really.
He's got them ratting rounds and working hard as well. And I think that seems to be the bedrock of his philosophy. Is like, look, we play as a team, all right, we've got our style and whatever, but off the ball we work hard, we're hard to beat. And people like Richarlison, like it or not, buy into stuff like that. He'll run all day for you, and he'll run into walls, and he'll throw himself about. Basuma is clearly relishing that. He's an athlete. Son's not afraid to roll his sleeves up. Kulusevski the same. So then you got a lot of players there with a lot of ability. Højbjerg obviously is he's not going to shirk responsibility when it comes to getting his foot in there. I still don't think they're going to have enough to be threatening like top sixes and stuff. You look at how well Newcastle have started. Maybe top sixes, but you know,
you
top
say that
four.
though, I think, and again, you pulled me on this last week when I said Chelsea would be the surprise package. I mean, you look at Chelsea's performance, and you look at...
I said they'd be miles off. I said there's a lot of work for them to do, didn't they?
But then you look at Spurs' performance. I can see Spurs, if they're going to play like that, finish above Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea's performance against West Ham, oh my goodness, I mean...
I can't remember where I had Spurs versus Chelsea. I think I had Chelsea finishing 7th. Can you get that up in a sec? I put it in our group.
It's in the Telegram chat. I mean, given those, if you can just judge where someone's going to finish, I think.
It does look like Spurs. Simply because I think they've got more goals in them.
Yeah,
they've got more players who are accustomed to scoring goals in the Premier League. Son is, he's capable of getting 20 goals, isn't he? If you get the most out of him, Richarlison can get you 10-ish. Kulusevski is probably capable of getting you 10 if you consistently play him.
I think there were players as well at Chelsea who really missed getting goals.
Injured,
was Sterling. Did you see Sterling's performance though?
He was brilliant.
Really impressive.
Carrying the ball like there was in the second half where he just goes through the gears.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I thought he'd win, but obviously ended up getting beat 3-1.
And probably heard on the True Geordie the day before, everyone was chatting shit about him.
Yeah, I actually heard that, yeah.
So you probably thought, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to give it a go now.
They've asked me to go on, it was this weekend, True Geordie asked me to go on for Liverpool plays Newcastle, don't they? That's when he asked me to go on, they do the kick-off, but I'm away for it, but hopefully get on there in a few weeks. But yeah, they were giving him stick, and he's listened to them and come back with a performance. Someone who didn't have a performance was the new man, Casado.
He looked a little bit of like rabbit in the headlights. So I mean,
it was a bad little cameo.
It was. Yeah. Give the
ball away and then he gave away a pen, which left a few memes on Twitter of Liverpool buzzing that they never got him. I think he'll go on and have the last laugh. He's a great player, but yeah, definitely a debut to forget. A debut not to forget was Kane. Done exactly what I think most people thought he'd do. Was scored on his debut and got an assist. I think that's just golden boot for him in the Bundesliga.
Top player, isn't he?
Yeah,
top player.
All the little mad ones. Pep Guardiola's getting back surgery. So he's
out of the dugout.
Out of action for the next 2 weeks. What impact that will have? I mean, when you've got such a well-oiled machine, it does make me think, like, is it really going to make a difference?
Yeah, and as first team coach who's taken over, I'm sure it takes 90% of the training sessions. All right, you've got the manager who has the last word, maybe before they go out. But as you say, I think he'll be on his bed telling them exactly what he wants to happen and what system to play and whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I think unlike a lot of managers, he's not standing in that technical area the whole game, is he? Guardiola does sit down a lot and he maybe gets up and has
he's having a chat to everyone, but might have an impact. Hopefully it does. And then the last few bits, mate, how long have we been going for there, Musk? Feels a bit longer.
Just under an hour.
Oh, is it? I thought it was a bit longer. A few bits, sad things. I've seen in Liverpool under 16s play. Well, the under 16s walked off in the next gen tournament after being racially abused. I think, listen, football's part of society, and society, as we know, can be pretty fucked up at times. But when you're talking about under 16s getting racially abused, it's like, what is going on with the world?
By opposing players.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like... Was
it opposing players or was it the spectators?
I think it was one of the players, yeah.
Yeah, one of the players has been suspended by the club for the rest of the tournament.
I mean, look, unfortunately, Italy is not, I said not accustomed. They're accustomed to that type of behaviour and stuff. I'm not saying they tolerate it, but it's a lot more like prevalent, isn't it? Thankfully, it's not as prevalent in this country, and we don't accept it. Apparently, Muskie tells me that FIFA have been, or UEFA have been really forthright with the punishment.
Makes a change, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and hopefully the player or players involved will be banned, or again, you'd like to think that those types of the fact of calling it the next gen competition. That person or those people shouldn't even be allowed to be considered in the next generation. They should be banned for a few years and go, look, You're not going to be involved. You're not going to have a contract. You can't play anywhere in a UEFA sanctioned competition.
100% agree. Mate, one player, you like the way I've just done that, went from under 16s to Theo Walcott, who did come on the scene at under 16s. I think he went the World Cup at 16, didn't he?
I believe so, yeah. He did get picked, didn't he? Didn't play in the end, did he? But he got picked.
He went with Sven took him, didn't he? Just retired. Obviously played for Everton for a bit. What are your memories of him at Everton?
Made a good impact when he came in. It was Alcaraz, I think, who signed him, bizarrely. About 18-20 million or something. Like ridiculously quick. And obviously, when you have players who play against you, and Walcott was always renowned for his pace, but I just remember when he first come in the team, you're like, wow, he's seriously quick. And then within 4 or 5 weeks, you're like, any chance of you scoring or creating something. The amount of times he gets himself into amazing. And I'm not saying Sterling's in this bracket, but I think to a certain extent he can be like that. He gets into so many positions so often, and if he produced 50% of the time, he'd be like way. He's
had a much better career, Sterling, than Walcott.
Oh yeah, but you know what I mean. Like by that, like even at the weekend, Sterling's like seems to be in the box.
Yeah.
Every time he gets it.
But then doesn't score as many.
Doesn't score as many as he should. But Walcott was like that next bracket down.
Listen, he's a multi-millionaire and played for England and done what he's done. I think if he's honest with himself, he'll look back at his career and think, he's underachieved.
I think honestly, he'll look back at his career and think, I moved too early, and I should have cemented myself at Southampton. I should have played 100, 150 games there. I should have learnt my craft. I'm not saying he didn't learn his craft. I think he. I think the thing with Walcott as well, in fact I'm certain, he didn't have a prolonged academy career. He come into the game quite late. I think it was like a 11, 12 or whatever, where everyone just realised he was so fast, let's make him a footballer. So he didn't play. He wasn't one of those who's had like 10,000 touches or whatever you need to be an elite footballer. I think he was just so good athletically that like people just thought, let's just make him a winger and create something and make something out of it.
Well, yeah, he's announced his retirement, 35 I think he was, but and from everything I've read, apparently a really nice fella. So
yeah, and that's it, isn't he? I think like, I don't get anyone.
I don't think anyone's bad-mouthed.
No, not at all. And I don't think he was one of them. I think he was a role model, from a footballing perspective, and yeah, good luck to him.
And the last little kind of debate, mate, is on this whole yellow cards and time wasting, which is interesting because I don't think they're going to keep it up all season. I seen one on Twitter today, and it was they kind of done a time, on it. The ball goes out for a throw-in, and then the clock starts, and it's a bit of a time clock.
It's a team one, isn't it?
It's a team one, and then the player picks up the ball.
They play past the parcel with the ball for a little bit.
But the player who gets booked only had the ball for something like 8 seconds.
It doesn't matter.
But the team,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. The ref got annoyed. It was Dermot Gallagher was talking about it on TalkSport last night, and he said, "I'd been there, and you just like you start getting annoyed, like that's enough now." I got to that period. He was just unfortunate to not have the ball at that period.
But I don't think that can't go on all season, these bookings, mate. You're going to be finishing games like 9 players and 8 players.
But you say that, but why? Well, just stop it then. Stop wasting time then.
I know, but...
Stop wasting time.
Mate, you're speaking from a team that's got Pickford in the side.
I know, right, so, but I'm just saying, stop. I think they've got to keep it up. I think they can't just stop it now, because every time they bring a rule in then, or bring some kind of, right, this is our new initiative, the players and managers will go, just gibber. Just ignore them. After 10 games, they'll drop it. I think they've got, if that's the message they're trying to send out.
I think booking a player who's got hold of the ball for 8 seconds, I think that's
it was the team, so it was a message to the team to say, right, he's the last person to pick up, he's getting booked.
What did you book the manager or something, and he's in charge of the team?
But he's not making the players waste that much time, is he? And what's that going to do? Booking Arteta, like, and what? Like, he ends up getting... I'd like to think that Arteta went, look, there were silly bookings there.
To me, what it looked like is, I totally agree, the team are arsing around with the ball, I get that. But then at the last minute, the lad throws someone else the ball. This new lad's got the ball. He's like,
it's gone past 30 seconds, though, hasn't it?
No, it's like 22 seconds
for the whole period.
For the whole team.
Right, well, but still, 22 seconds to take a throw in. I don't care whether it's you for the whole time or it's the person who's got the ball and has not released it.
It becomes like past the parcel.
Yeah, but so all right. So was the ref meant to just let him pass it again and pass it again? I threw it after the 8 seconds.
I don't know whether that's the right way though to go.
What is it then? Give me another solution.
I don't know, but I can't see that being the way all season. I think there'll be some sort of truce where they'll stop booking players, or I don't know. But I just...
in fairness, I think one of the stats I heard today is if they maintain this level of red cards up, and red cards are obviously coming because there's 2 yellows or whatever. we'd be on. Last season there was 30. I couldn't believe how little this was, by the way. There was only 30 red cards in the Premier League last season. The whole of the Premier League. So far there's been 6 already. If they keep this up, there'll be 126.
There you go.
By the end of the season.
It can't continue.
It can't continue, but two things, one or two things have got to change, haven't you? The behaviour of the players.
But what do you do though as a player when you want to throw the ball and your players aren't making space? Do
you know what I used to do? Throw it over them and throw it forwards and not take a risk.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not playing Premier League footy.
I know, but if I knew that was the option, I was going to get booked quickly. Your players start moving and getting into position quicker. You don't often see the top teams when they say, it's all right. Let me just flip it a little bit. That game was 0-0 or it was 1-0 to Palace. Do you think it takes them more than 10 seconds to take that throw in?
But I think what they've done to combat that is bring in these 8, 9, 10, 11 minutes added on time. Great. But they're still booking players. I'm thinking, come on, it's all right. You can't...
The booking players, because they don't want to keep up that 10, 11, 12, 14 minutes. So within 1 week or 2 set of games, the referees are already talking about it, going, this is getting ridiculous, paying 12, 14 minutes added on time. So they went, okay, well, you're going to have to start booking them then. If you don't want it to be 12, 14 minutes added on time, you're going to have to get them to speed up. So it's got to be, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think if you want to cut down that added on time, which is what the players are saying they want, by the way, they're saying this is too much for us, we're going to get injured, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, who was the player who came out there? Man City
it was,
player? Man United?
It was the centre-back, what's he called?
Varane.
Varane, Rafa Varane it was. He came out and said, didn't he? So, look, I'm not saying that I think that was the thing this season that we should have been prioritising as stopping players from wasting time. But that's the agenda. Then you either need to speed the play up, or you need to accept the added on time. You can't have it both ways.
Fair enough. I made to end the show a bit of a sad note to do with Everton. The young lad Michael Jones. 26, was working on the new Everton Stadium, sadly killed. You just don't expect that to happen, do you?
No,
it
was a tragic accident. But look, with all the health and safety and everything, we're not here we don't know the ins and outs of everything that's happened. I know there's an investigation into it. I know as well, which I guess might be new news to you, that the family have said that they're happy for the club to continue construction. They actually consulted with the family and said, look, we want to do this the right way. We want a period of respect. You know, what is acceptable to you? And apparently the family have said, look, we want it to continue. He was a massive Everton fan. He was proud to have been working on that site. Was satisfied that it was a tragic accident. These things happen. But I think the one thing I'd like to say, and the reaction of the clubs, the fans, has been incredible. Like the mark of respect at Anfield, the mark of respect from the players and manager at Liverpool to go down to the memorial by the ground. The Aston Villa fans at Villa Park at the weekend, they had banners. They were applauding as well. I think Hughes actually scores on the 26th minute.
That time,
he scores on the 26th minute just after the applause had finished, which was a nice little touch. We just got worse after the 26th minute, which I'm sure Michael, God rest his soul, will have just been typical Everton, that nice one.
Yeah.
But no, I thought, look, incredibly sad, incredibly tragic what happened. But again, another example of the solidarity the city shows in the face of things like that.
Do you think they will at the ground do something? Maybe
I'm
corner of the stadium or something?
I'm certain that'll be the case. I'm sure that'll be, and I'm sure that was part of the conversation with the family to say, look, this is how we're going to honour him.
Yeah.
Because he's contributed like everyone else has to the construction of the stadium, and he's been a victim of that. But
really sad.
Yeah, very sad.
And last from you, Musk?
No, all good.
You got it?
No.
Back in the studio, which is what I prefer. Got Musk in the studio as well. Hopefully this will be more of a thing. Don't forget, we'll have our betting show coming out on Saturday. Get signed up on Patreon, as the next kind of cogs will be starting moving the next few weeks. Have a boss weekend. Nice one for listening. See you later.